Hey there, everybody. I am here to explain my suspension rebuild on this second gen Lexus LS400, specifically the rear part. The front wasn't too bad, and there are resources out there. Some video links will be in the description for that on how to do the front. There's also some good resources on the rear, but there are some details and things that I'd like to tell you that hopefully will make the process faster and more efficient. So here's the disaster that is the passenger side rear suspension. I am at the point of pretty much complete teardown. Obviously, I've already replaced this bar over here, this bar that's connecting the sway bar link. Obviously, as you can see, the sway bar link is new. We're obviously keeping the original drive shaft. This bar is also new, and then I've got the hub off. Now, what's interesting is that the primary resource I watched, shout out to JJ in Motion, thank you for making some great videos on this platform. I am disastrously trying to take this guy out. Right now, I've been using a various litany of non-electric tools. And I'm at a point where I'm probably just going to get a reciprocating saw. I do not have one. I've been using a hacksaw to try to get that outer ring in half so that I can push it out. I had also tried some various press options, but after taking a trip to the hardware store and not finding anything quite the right size and not having anything in my spare bolt compartments, I decided to basically drill through the rubber and then take the rubber insert out and then try to get the outer ring out separately. Which definitely went great for the inner rubber part. Like, that came out pretty quickly, but trying to get this out has been really hard without any power tools. So I think I'm just going to grab a reciprocating saw and basically run through the grooves that I've already made in the metal. You can kind of see that little tooth mark there on the bottom side of the outer ring. That's where I've been going at it with a hacksaw, and similar situation on the bottom half of this metal ring. So I will eventually get that out, and then I'll take a metal file or a brass brush or something and clean that up and prepare it for the poly bushings that I'm going to put in.
For the press options I looked into, I used a Maddox press kit from Harbor Freight. That did not work. Some of the rings do match the size that you need. You can see that in the picture here. That's the one on the bottom left. And then I also used a variety of claw presses. Those don't work because of the tight quarters you're dealing with. So I took some measurements. For the other side, I'm hoping to not have to go bear mode on that bushing like you just saw. Instead, I'm going to use two bolts that are 6 to 7 inches long, matching nuts for those, and then a bunch of 22/23 millimeter washers. The setup I did here that you can see is just the socket sizes, to figure out what I needed, and then the default bolts for both bushings. You can use those bolts to make sure the outer diameter of the bolt is the correct size to fit through the inner rings.
Obviously, the reason why I am putting those poly bushings in is because both of them, both of those sets of bushings for the rear axle carrier are not made anymore, and they're pretty much impossible to find through various retailers. So I've had to go with poly bushings on both of them. I believe you can get rubbers for one of those, double sets of bushings. But I figure just for ease of use, and since there's potential for me having to go back there after a couple of years anyways and replace them, since it seems like after the research I've done, poly bushings just don't last as long as rubber ones. So if I have to go back there anyway, I might as well just replace both pairs at once if that ever were to happen down the road. So I am going to flip over to the other side, which I am now just starting teardown, and show you what we got to do there. This will hopefully help as a shortcut guide from a blend of what's in the factory service manual and what JJ in Motion did for the rear suspension. So all I've done here is I've just taken the cotter pin out and the little retainer that's sitting right there to the the drive shaft right here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to have someone step on the brake pedal, press down on it pretty hard while I undo this nut. It's at, I think, 213 foot-pounds, so it's very tight on there. It's the highest torque bolt in this entire job. Once that comes off, you can take a brass bar. I've actually just been using an extension and kind of loosen that up. Before you take that out, you are going to want to undo the 10 millimeter. It's right under here, holding this cable on. Same with this guy. There's another 10 millimeter here, and then there's a 10 sitting here. Now, I believe JJ completely disconnected the parking brake cable. I actually left mine in, and I'm going to try to do the same on this side and just have the hub sit on the ground without, obviously stretching or twisting this parking brake cable too much. Down here, there is a 10, I believe. And then further down, there should be a 12. See if I can find it. Yep, this guy. And then right there is the connector for the parking brake cable. I don't know whether I'm going to mess with it. I think I'm just going to obviously bring the hub down to where it doesn't stretch anything and just work on it there. But that is an option if you want to do that. Once that's done, then you can take the rear brake caliper off. There's 2 bolts back here. I believe that they're 17s. They're torqued on at, I think, 83 foot-pounds, so not too bad, and you can just take the entire caliper off. As you noticed, in my situation, I actually ended up not taking the brake rotors off at all. And reason I didn't do that is because when I took my rear wheels off, I noticed that the screws, they're usually brass screws, holding in the brake rotor were stripped. So I was like, I don't really want to have to deal with drilling those screws out and then I have to wait to get new ones in. So it turns out that you can, remove the whole entire hub assembly when you're working on it. You can remove the hub assembly without removing the brake rotor if you don't disconnect the parking brake cable and don't disconnect the ABS cable either. You just have to be really careful and delicate when you set that hub down just to make sure that none of the other parts are getting in the way and stretching either of those cables. I would definitely recommend removing your brake rotor if your screws aren't stripped and you're able to lubricate and get them off without any problems. My other major recommendation is once you've done all of that work, I would actually remove the strut before you remove any other arms on this system. You can actually remove the strut really easily, and it won't interfere in a major way with any of the movement of this hub. I would just say, make sure you have something under the hub to support it when you do that so that there isn't too much droop going on and none of the other components are being stretched in a way that would damage them. I think that's it. Except for I would really reserve a lot of time for this job. It is very time consuming, very frustrating, and I would say at the point where you really need to be creative with your choice of tools. You may have to use things like cutoff wheels if you're dealing with really rusty components. Like I said, reciprocating saw for those bushings because they're in really tight quarters and there's not really much room that you have to work with once you get that hub off. On top of the fact that obviously you're not putting factory parts on there. That really is I would call it a decently major concern for this platform. Again, parts are starting to dry up on these things. They are very reliable vehicles, but they're also very old vehicles. So please take that in mind if you're thinking about purchasing one of these. Hopefully you know what you're getting into. Hope you guys enjoyed that and that it was helpful to you. If there's anything else you want to hear about on the project, let me know. Give the video a like if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more of the LS. And I'll catch y'all in future videos. Bye-bye.